Hi, this is Emery with the McCourt's Music Group. Today I'll be showing you how to clean your brass instrument. I'll be doing this on my trumpet, but this works for any brass instrument. I'll also be doing this in the kitchen sink just so there's room for the camera, but you'll probably want to do it in your bathtub. Before we get started, you'll want a few things. You'll want dish soap, a polishing cloth, a snake, and brushes for your valve casing and your mouthpiece. If you don't have those last two, you can use a soft bristle toothbrush instead. Once you have everything together, you're ready to get started. First, we have to get the water ready. We want the water to be lukewarm to the touch. If it's too hot, it can do damage to the lacquer or the plating. Once you have the temperature where you want it, start adding a little bit of dish soap to the running water. We want the soap to be visible in the water, but we want to avoid a bubble bath. Add the soap a little bit at a time until you reach a good level. You only need a few inches of water to fully submerge everything, so don't worry about filling the tub all the way to the top. We are going to start with the mouthpiece. Take your mouthpiece brush and scrub both the sides as well as the shank. Now it is time for us to disassemble our instrument. We're going to start by removing the valves and setting those off to the side on our towel. This is the one part of the trumpet we don't want to have completely submerged. They should be numbered right there, but if your instrument doesn't have them numbered, make sure you set them in an order so that you don't forget which one is which. Now, some of you might have felts on your valves, like I do here and down here. There's usually going to be two of them. You don't want to get those wet at all, so it's best to either be very careful with them or just remove them entirely. Next, we want to remove all tuning slides and gently set them in the tub. For you trombone players, this means separating the inner and the outer slides, so we need to be very careful not to bump them while we're cleaning them. It's much easier to dent them when they are disconnected like this, and dents could cause problems that you wouldn't be able to fix yourself. If you're trying to remove a slide and find that it's stuck or having a hard time coming out like I am with this one right now, don't pull on it too hard or you could risk bending something or breaking a brace. Just clean the rest of the instrument as normal, and if it's still stuck at the end, you'll need to take it to a technician to pull it safely. Once the slides are all off, we want to remove the bottom valve caps and set those in. And finally, we want to gently set the bell in the tub so that we don't scratch or dent it. Now that everything's in, we want to let it all soak in the water for 15 to 20 minutes. If your bell isn't quite covered by the water, flip it over halfway through so that all of the parts of the bell get soaked. Once it's done soaking, grab your snake and we're going to start scrubbing the inside. If you don't have a snake, just rinse the instrument out. Don't use anything that wasn't made for your instrument so that it doesn't get stuck. We're going to start with the lead pipe. This is usually where you're going to have the most gunk just because of how close to the mouthpiece it is. So we're going to feed the snake all the way through the lead pipe just until we see those bristles come out the other end, and then we're going to pull it back through so that there's no chance of getting stuck. Do that a couple times through if you have to. And then after that's done, we're going to do the same thing with all of our other slides. Now you're going to want to make sure that you don't push too far. You don't want it to get stuck, so if you feel any pressure, just stop. Don't worry about putting the snake through the bell. The opening is big enough that running water should be able to take care of everything. For the valves, we're going to take our valve casing brush and just work through the casing. You don't want to be scrubbing too much, just enough to get through there. Again, don't push all the way through, just enough to get through there to remove anything that might have built up, as well as any excess oil. At this point, you're going to want to take your valves, take a bit of soapy water, and same thing, don't go too rough on them, just to clean off anything that might be built up on there. Now we're going to want to make sure that we get all of our slides here on the trumpet done. Make sure we're not pushing too far in. We don't want to get anything stuck. We just want to go through there, get that nice and cleaned out. Once everything is scrubbed out, go ahead and drain the water. We want to give everything one final rinse with lukewarm water to make sure none of the stuff we cleaned out made its way back into the horn. As you rinse everything off, go ahead and move it to your towel to air dry for at least 15 minutes or until all the water is gone. Then go ahead and get yourself set up with everything you need to put it back together. Alright, now that everything is air dried, you might want to just take your polishing cloth and wipe everything down one last time to just make sure it's all dry. I have already done this, but now it's time to re-grease our slides and put that all back together. And when you're doing this, you don't want to use too much, just enough to cover the slide. You don't want to be wiping away a bunch of excess grease when you're done with this. So just work it into the slide. And then wiggle it around a little bit on each side to make sure that it coats the entire slide. Take your cloth to wipe away any excess grease, and then you're going to repeat that for each slide. And the last thing we're going to do is re-oil our valves. We don't want to use too much again, just enough to coat them. And then we're going to work that into the valve casing, wiggle that around a bit so that we spread it all around. And then we're going to want to make sure we spin it till it clicks. That's the valve guide locking into place. If that's not in the right spot, the air is not going to go through the instrument properly. So then we're going to repeat that for the other two valves. And then you're all finished. We recommend doing this once every few months to make sure that your horn is in the best playing condition that it can be. If you want to get a little bit more of an extra clean done, we do offer ultrasonic cleanings when our stores are normally open, and we do all this and more for you. Thanks for watching. Feel free to send us a message if you have any questions, and stay safe and stay healthy.